make your life miserable again. Okay, what constitutes a product label? First of all, there is, like I said, the EPA issues or puts their stamp of approval on these labels. And there's environmental fate. We have to look at the active ingredients as well as the inert ingredients in these products and what happens to them when we take them out of the jug and we spray them out in the environment. We look at what happens to the potential effects on aquatic organisms, on mammalian organisms, on people, the way they break down in the soil, and all that goes into the toxicology data. And that, again, it all comes together. And basically whether the product is safe, whether it can be used effectively over a long period of time, all these safety factors are put in, and a lot of them are based on, some of them are based on assumptions, but a lot of them are based on sound scientific data. And then you have efficacy. Okay, I mean, what good is it to have this product? I mean, the reason we, BASF, want to sell emeralds, I mean, we're just not selling foo-foo juice, we're selling a product that we know has efficacy on a number of different diseases. We've tested it, we've proven its efficacy, we've defined the rate range, and all that efficacy data, we've tested across the United States, and in our case it's globally, that goes into this label as well. And then we have a legal review. Again, the lawyers come back into it again, and they make sure that everything we say is right. Because if it's not, then they say, well, where did you get this data at? Well, we got it from this trial. Well, we want to see the full report. So there's always those legal aspects. The point is that lots of data goes into generating the label. A lot of scientific, solid, hardcore scientific data makes it. One of the things that's unique to a product label is that they're always evolving. I mean, the label you have last year on a product may not be the same label as it is this year, or maybe even 6 months ago. And what's happening there is, it's part of my job and other people's jobs, biologists' jobs, university data, is to generate new data. We're constantly looking for new uses. How does this product work? And if you look at this is two examples. Insignia data, which is a fungicide from BASF, and in 2005, this is what the label looked like. And it had disease control turf grass. Well, in 2008, it says disease control in turf grass and ornamentals. And the label got a lot thicker. We added probably about 7 or 8 pages to it. More diseases were added to it. And that is the result of ongoing research into keeping that data alive and using the data that we generate to prove or disprove more use patterns for the product. In this case, we expanded the label and got into ornamental use as well as having a few more diseases. Some of the key words, again, going back to reading the label. I mean, understanding the English language. If it is in English, some of these are in Spanish. If you go into a global thing, they'll be in the indigenous language of the country. But there's key words in here that I think need to be looked at. The directions for use. These need to be followed. They really do. I mean, it's not, again, going back to my earlier points, if you don't follow the directions, you're setting yourself up for a major disaster. The do nots. You see do nots in a label. If you see a do not in a label, there's pretty good reason to mean that you should not do that. Not that there's an option to maybe I could do this. If it says do not do it. Because we have proven that use or using it that way is either one of several things. It could be illegal because of the use pattern. It could be very injurious to your crop, your target pest or your target crop, or it could be injurious to you. In the agricultural use requirements in any label, there'll be do nots, what you should do, personal protective equipment. These all need to be read and understand before getting into the product. And I suggest to people, I say, you know, when you get it before you make an application, take the label off the jug and read it. That's the most current, usually the most current label. And if you're in doubt, you can always go to websites. There's information there as well, updated labels. One of the first things you're going to see on a label that's new and that is being incorporated is the group number. And that group number is significant because it tells you what class of chemistry that particular chemistry works in. In this case, it's Paraclostrobin. Paraclostrobin is a strobilurin fungicide, and it's going to be in the group 11 QOI inhibitors. And if you're using it in a rotation, you shouldn't rotate it to another QOI, another group 11. You should go to group 7 or group 14 or whatever. But if you see a group 11 on one product and you look in your chemical storage room and you've got all group 11s, you're setting yourself up for disaster. You need to add some other products in there, or look for some other products and expand your arsenal, as I call it. Use sites, that's what's going to be on the front. The active ingredient, of course, that group 11 is probably, that group number is probably really, this is the telltale mark there. The other ingredients may or not be insignificant. The EPA registration number. I live and work in California, and we have to make use reports, and we have to put the EPA registration number on those use reports after your application. So that's significant for me and for other states as well. The signal word, that gives you a real good indication of how toxic that product is in general. Okay, caution word, fairly safe material. Warning, it's got a few more restrictions on it. This is danger in the skull and crossbones. You better take heed. You better take heed for all of them, but if it's got a danger in a skull and crossbones, it's usually highly toxic. And then the net contents. You know how much you have to. What you should look for. These are some of the things that I think you should look for, just as a mind, keep them in the back of your mind before you make an application. Re-entry interval. This can get you into legal trouble. If you've got workers working for you, making applications, there may be local regulations that require you to have your people stay out of an area after you've treated. The mode of action goes back to that group number again, the group 11, in this case for insignia. Pre-harvest interval, this is not pertinent to turf, but in the ag world it is. The crop use sites, whether you can use it on, it says do not use on golf course greens, or do not use on bent grass, or do not use on zoysia grass, or whatever it may be. Those need to be followed because there's probably an issue there. Well, there will be an issue there that's been tested and documented scientifically. And all these other things, personal protective of the PPE, again, those are key for, especially if you have people working for you and yourself, if you're making the application, you need to know those things and follow them. If you follow the label, you'll stay out of trouble. I look at the label as a homework assignment, and it should precede any application. You shouldn't go out there and read the label after you spray the product. I mean, that's a no-brainer. You should read the label before, and if you do that, you won't get into trouble. If you can't comply with that label, if there's the issues in there where you can't do it, then you usually look for a different product. Questions you should ask yourself: does the product fit? Does it fit turf? Does it fit this growth stage of turf? Does it fit these environmental conditions for this particular type of turf? And the pests that I'm going after, if it's in the case of Drive Accelerate, Drive is a post-emergent weed control agent, herbicide, and it's post-emergent. It goes on after the weeds have come up. So you need to look at the weeds it does control. I get calls once in a while, how come I sprayed this product out there, this Drive, and it didn't take out this annual bluegrass? Well, because annual bluegrass is controlled by Drive. It's basically warm season grasses that it does control. So by not reading the label, the guy misunderstood. It's not a big deal. Location. Does it fit your location? Does it fit the environmental conditions for that location? The point here is the label is a comprehensive document that defines the parameters for using any product, and they need to be followed. General suggestions: you take 10 to 15 minutes of time. It can save you a whole lot of heartache. I didn't realize that. I get calls sometimes from people, and this is not wrong. They call and they want to confirm. Hey, the label says this. What does it mean? What does it really mean? Is this what I mean, or and sometimes their understanding may be different than what the label is, the way the label's written. And so, if you're in doubt, call somebody. Call BASF representative. Call your local distributor. We sell through distribution. Or a consultant, turf consultant, manufacturer's reps. Any of these people can help you out. You can always check the latest labels at cdms.net or agreen.com, or the BASF website. We have links to those sites, and they're updated basically on a weekly basis, if not daily. So if there's a new label comes out, there's amendments to that label, you can go to these sites and you can pull them up. But I would say the biggest thing is read the labels. If you don't understand it, you got questions about it, if you think you understand it this way, call and check, make sure. Product updates, we frequently give product updates through our distributors. Attend those meetings because they can be very informative. I learned because I don't just use BASF products, I use other products as well in testing and research. And so learning and knowing those other chemistries and how they are used is advantageous to me too, so I get benefit out of it. Anyway, thank you. If you have any questions,